to Fans of the Forge, where we are recapping Season 6, Episode 2, Long Road to Redemption, Part 2.
Ooh.
Yes, the finale, if you will, of this.
The finale of the
The finale of the Road to Redemption. Finale of the two-part episode. So, we started with 7 Smiths, now we're down to 4. And they are Matt Berry, Season 5, Messiah Spear, David Sowards-Emmerd, Grim Reaper Scythe, episode Chris Price, Season 4, Tabar Shishbar, and Aaron Morrison, Season 5, Messiah Spear. So, let's get into, well, what's up this episode. They're back in the Forge, normal situation set up. So,
well, recap. There were 3 other guys or people. We had other Smiths. We had Zack Lewis. We had Rae VanderWeide, and we also had Marc Setzer. That all were eliminated in the first episode.
Yeah.
So these are the remaining 4.
Yep. So the Smiths are given a piece of W1 steel, a round piece, a round bar, and they are tasked with making a jambiya, which was an interesting curved weapon, had an upward curve towards the tip, and it had to be between 8 and 10 inches long, and have this like
it had a ridge,
yeah,
on both sides of the blade,
kind of like a backwards fuller.
Yeah.
But it was especially going to be difficult because the ridge followed the curve of the blade, so it's like it's not something you can easily grind in,
no,
or forge in for that matter, unless you can figure out a way to do it.
Yeah, so it was uniquely challenging. So for Matt, he was excited to be back in a normal forge with the power tools, power hammer, propane. During his forging, he found a crack and decided to cut off about 4 to 5 inches to get rid of that part of it. Luckily, he did have enough metal left.
Yeah, this was after he had already drawn it out quite a ways, so he had some extras left there.
And he decided to grind his ridge into the curved blade in about 10 minutes. So he really kind of hogged out what he needed to and made it work. Moving on to David. He chopped steel from his bar, which concerned Jay Nielsen, just because he was worried that he wouldn't have enough metal to shape it out.
Right.
And the purpose of that was so that he didn't have to spend as much time on it, right? Like trying to heat
it.
The less metal you have, the quicker it heats up.
But it could hurt you.
Yeah.
You never know.
You never know.
So he tried to use a spring fuller to forge his ridge. So he's using it opposite of, on the edges, towards the edges, so that the ridge would be, take shape. He was the only Smith to try that. I don't know if did it really work out for him?
No,
not
so
really.
He had the tool itself. That wasn't working as he was trying to press with it. And then he moved to just going to the press.
Right, and using the
press to do it.
Yeah. So then he was drilling some holes. He got it quenched. And Doug said it kind of had a banana-shaped profile.
Yeah, a little too curved for the challenge. But what are you going to
do? Chris decided to make a jig to put the ridge in his weapon. He was the only Smith to actually make that attempt. I got to give him some credit for that. It makes sense if you can make a tool to do that work, because of the odd shape and everything. That's pretty cool. But I mean, it worked for him.
Yeah, it worked fine for what he was doing.
And he also was testing his W1 to see how it would take the heat treat. So he took a piece, quenched it, and then broke it to check out the grain structure within. And he determined the best way was to do 2 quenches on it.
Right.
To get the correct, grain structure.
Jay Nielsen said that he was the first when he was on his first episode. He was the first time that anybody had ever done that that Jay had seen,
Yep.
where they took the material and specifically broke off a piece, heated it up, and quenched it to see what it looked like. So that's a smart move.
Yeah, it was. But no one else they showed doing a second quench. So,
Yeah.
but anyhow, moving on to Aaron. Will still won't live it down that Aaron was the only Smith to blow the parameters twice in an episode. So they show Aaron. I think he had to draw on the floor, measurements and whatnot. And he also showed Aaron kind of checking with the, model weapon, going up to it,
Yep.
checking it out. So that was cool. He decided to draw his metal out from the center to establish the spine. He had about 12 minutes left to quench. Not as much time as he'd liked, but 12 minutes is a long time when you're underwater or on fire,
Yeah.
It's true.
according to him. So,
It's one way to look at 12 minutes.
well,
It works.
and he was excited that it was hard after quench, but also very anxious.
Yeah. No, he definitely had the feel to the way he was, working, is that he was coming in as like the youngest person
Yeah.
there with the least experience, and he was working against the clock at the end there, but he pulled it out.
Yeah, everyone made it through. So moving on to judging, for Matt, Doug liked the design and the handle. He had some great grinding skills, but it did pick up a bit of a warp. For David, they said it was a straight blade, but the handle is lean and the rib is undefined and needs more work. For Chris, they said there was a lot of steel and the handle is really skinny and he really needed to reduce the weight if he moved forward.
Mm-hmm.
And for Aaron, you stayed within the parameters. Hey, what do you know? Good profile, but needed some refining. And with that, David got the boot because it was the least refined blade,
Yep.
the least refined banana.
Or the most refined banana.
Oh, right, yeah.
That's another way to look at it.
For round 2, they needed to attach a handle using only natural materials and must include 4 florets on the handle. So Matt chooses a wood block, has some issues with the jigsaw, but then uses a chisel to break the scales apart. And then he works on the florets for his jambalaya using a Dremel tool.
Oh, yeah, that was his term. Was it? For my jambalaya.
Wait,
Yeah.
that's the food.
Oh, I'll make a comment right here. I mentioned it to you, Sean, when we watched the first part of this episode, and I mentioned it to Teresa, how it was kind of weird watching it with Matt on there because we had met him and interviewed him before.
Right.
So we'd had conversations with the guy. So he's the first guy that had gone back on the show after he had talked to us. So watching this episode and the previous episode and seeing some of his facial expressions and some of the things he was doing and just the way, it was hilarious to me.
He's a character.
He's really a character, and he definitely comes off as a bit goofy.
Yeah.
And I don't think when we first saw him in season 5, I didn't get that impression. Maybe he still was. I didn't get that impression at the time. And it wasn't until we met him.
Maybe it's because we're such great friends of his now.
Well, yeah. I mean, I bought this ring from him.
As you flip off everybody to show the ring.
And yeah, no, he's a cool guy. So it was a different viewing experience than a lot of the other episodes of Forged in Fire that we've watched before.
It's true.
That's where I'm going with this. It was weird.
It's also amusing where they're trying, like, he has to be serious. And we're like, that's not him.
Yeah, no.
All right, so Chris works on removing weight from his blade before working on the handle. He has a weird shrunken head on a pencil. Is like his good luck charm?
Yeah,
or-
it's a good luck charm.
Is it
I
Fred?
guess.
Is that the name
Yes.
of it?
Oh, yeah.
Fred. He chooses antler for his handle and then has issues getting the holes drilled because his blade is too hard after the quench. So he has to heat up the handle with a torch to reduce the temper to be able to get the holes
And
drilled.
the antler was massive.
Oh,
Yes,
The
it
thing was
huge.
huge. It was the size of this beer bottle.
Yeah, easily.
It's crazy.
And the size of the handle or the shape of the fact that it's antler gave him issue when he's trying to get the florets on. He attached his florets before finishing the grind on his handle, so it ended up being really beefy.
Yeah, he was taking either a Dremel tool or something to try to get in there to grind away some more of the material.
Yeah, I think it
like
was
where he was going
like
to be
a
grabbing.
Dremel with like a grinding stone on
Yeah.
it, but it wasn't working out too well.
Yeah.
No.
And then Aaron cleans up his grind before working on the handle. He has to resize his pinholes to attach the ash handle that he chose. He can't get his florets to attach properly, and he ran out of time to fully sharpen his blade. So then they go to testing, where it's 6 chops on a horn chop test. Matt survived with no major damage. Handle's comfortable, but it spun a bit in Jay's hand.
Yep.
Chris, Jay hurt himself. He strained his wrist because he couldn't get a good grip on the large handle. And Aaron, the blade edge, survived the heat treat. The next one was a rib cup sharpness test. Matt, it will cut through muscle and bone. Chris, blade is sharp enough to cut through ribs. Handle wasn't too comfortable. And Aaron, the outer edge is sharp enough to cut through the bone, but the inner edge wasn't sharp enough to cut through the second swipe. And then in the end, with ice pack laden wrist, Chris gets the boot because Jay's wrist hurt so bad after testing he needed an ice pack.
Oh, poor Jay.
He says, I'm not going to burn down my shop and take up crocheting while I was crocheting something.
That
So
was pretty funny.
minor offense, but not really.
And so we come into what may be the most interesting aspect of the entire 2-part episode.
This may be the first and only time they will do this.
Yeah. So for round 3, they tell the Smiths what the tests are going to be for the weapons that they're going to be making. Jay Nielsen will be doing a strength test against an aged oak barrel. Ben Abbott would be testing the sharpness against the Wicker Man. And then Doug would be slicing a pig carcass for the kill test. And so based on that information, they were given a choice of what weapon they wanted to make from this wall of weapons that was there.
Mm-hmm.
So there was a claymore, there was an arming sword, there was a carabella, there was a...
Zweihander.
How much? What?
Zweihander.
Zweihander, a Zigadea, and a Copus. And they only got 4 days to work on these.
So I've got a question. This is the first episode of the season. Are they just like throwing out all these new things to see what kind of reactions they're getting, and they might repeat some of this?
Here's what I think. I think people on this show read the forums that are on Facebook, because I've heard or read other people toss around ideas for the show before in like the Facebook group.
Yeah.
And one of them was, how about they tell them what the tests are and let them choose the weapon they make? I've seen versions of that over the last year multiple times. So I feel like that's where this came up. How they came up with this idea was maybe they saw some of these posts that people were saying and say, hey, that is kind of a neat idea. And that would change up things quite a bit. Now, if they're really going to be doing as many episodes as we think they're going to be doing, they're going to need to be able to make it different, right? Because otherwise, the show's great, but after 40 episodes last season, where they're all making, each challenge is slightly different, but the format, not that it got stale, but it was just...
It's formulaic.
It's very formulaic. Changing it helps build the interest back up in people that have been watching it for a while, I think. So if they know what's good for them, they'll hopefully will continue to do more interesting changing up of the way that the show works as they enter into this 6th season.
Yeah, because I don't think it's any better or worse than telling them what weapon to make for the final round and not knowing the tests. It's just different.
Right, it's just different. It gives the Smiths the option to think about a little bit more what they think is going to be the best item that they can make there to be able to do those tests, versus just kind of a shot in the dark at what the tests are going to be, and they know what the parameters of a specific weapon are that they have to make it to.
It also might help in that, instead of telling the Smiths they have to make a certain weapon, one guy may not have any experience making that, whereas the other guy might have some experience making that type of weapon. So there's a little imbalance there with, experience.
Yeah. Yeah.
This kind of helps to smooth some of that out and make it maybe a little more even match.
Yeah, I think it did in the long run end up making it a more even match when we get to the testing.
Yeah.
So,
and I should also say that what if you don't have the ability to make a long sword?
exactly.
But you have the ability to make something smaller,
Yeah, definitely. It opens up the options, and it doesn't necessarily hamstring a competitor from being able to make
just because he
their
doesn't
best
have
item.
some of the tools.
Right. So for Matt, he chose to do the arming sword, and his original plan was to forge it all out on day 1. On day 2, he ground in the fuller. Excuse me, hold on a second. I'm going to try that again. On day 2, he ground the fuller in, and he was concerned about Aaron's choice of weapon, specifically that maybe he chose the Copus.
Yeah.
Bum, bum, bum.
Bum, bum, bum. And then on day 3, he was working on hot fitting the guard, and then almost gets the thing stuck on there because it's just not coming quite off the way he wants it to.
It's cooling down.
Yeah, it's cooling down and locking in place, but he got it off in time. But he was concerned. There was for a second there, he was very concerned that he had damaged the blade because of the way that he ended up taking it off, but he was fine.
Yeah.
And then for Aaron, guess what he chose? The Copus.
Oh, boy.
And I guess Matt was just concerned that Aaron would choose this because he thought that would be the only other weapon that could stand up to similar tests that the arming sword could.
Mm-hmm.
So he's like, if he chooses the arming sword or the Copus, basically, we're going to be neck and neck because he knows just by looking at this thing that it's a beefier blade that can handle harder chops and things like that. It's definitely meant to be a chopper versus a sword that's like a stabbing sword, like the arming sword. Aaron chose the Copus, and he wants to have a rough final profile of the blade by the end of day 1, but he ends up seeing that it looks like there's some possible cracks from some overheating.
Mm-hmm.
And on day 2, he finds all sorts of stressed cracks in the blade and has to start over. And then on day 3, they showed him working on his knuckle bow, and they highlighted the fact that he was welding that knuckle bow to the handle.
Yeah.
Remember that part. And then in between all this, there was an ad for a new game called Forge of Empires.
Wait, you haven't seen this ad before?
I haven't seen Forge
This
of
game's
Empires.
been out for like a year or 2.
Forge of Empires
Yes,
has?
yes.
I didn't know. I didn't see that before.
Yeah.
FOE.TV.
Oh, Jesus. No, I
it's stupid.
Yeah,
It's dumb.
Is there any forging? 'Cause
No.
it didn't show any. Okay.
There's no forging in the ad at all. What I don't understand how it was
Somehow
Forge of
you go
Empires.
from the ads that I've seen, you can start off as a caveman, and you somehow just build up, and
And
then
you know what?
can get yourself into
Dominations,
the
that other game that they
Yeah.
were like a part of, it's the same thing.
Yeah.
You start off as like a caveman or whatever, and then you build your way up through society, like civilization.
Mhm.
They're all the same fucking game at this point. It's just like different names and different offshoots of empires or age of this.
it's a thing.
or-
Yeah,
So they're all garbage. Anyway,
there's no forging in there.
no. They move.
Well, I mean,
Bet.
they do show the guy with a hammer once in a while, but it's usually like building a house.
Yeah,
It's
He's not. He's not building a sword.
No,
He's not building a Copus.
no, definitely not building a Copus. So for testing, they come back to the forge. They start with
He's probably making a frying pan or some steak knives.
Oh gosh, yeah, there you go. That's what it was.
All right, sorry.
We figured it out. Oh, while you're bringing it up,
Oh, okay.
Sean shared he copied me on, or he put me in a comment on a Forge and Fire post. It was from Forge and Fire on Facebook.
That's right.
And it was a picture of their fucking pan sitting in a fireplace with flames all around it. It's just an ad for the pan. Get Forged in Fire.
No, there was a line about it though. There was some like caption
Yeah, there was.
about
Clearly
it will
wasn't
keel.
catchy.
It will keel something.
Oh yeah, something about will it keel or something. Let
I'm
me
gonna
see.
look it up.
Pull
I'm
that
gonna
up.
see if I can pull that up here. If I can, I don't know if this is gonna be logged in or not. I don't know my password offhand, so never.
I don't have.
Don't
Signal.
worry about it.
Oh man, Well, put it up.
I'll
on the
put
screen.
it up on the
Yeah.
screen behind us here. It's ridiculous. Anyway, Doug, he did the pig carcass kill test, and Matt definitely had a pretty badass blade. It was very sharp, lots of good stabbiness going on there, pretty good swing and slashing. Doug loved the sword. It will kill. And then for Aaron, it's like it's a completely different test because it's a one-handed weapon, which I don't know. Was the arming sword a one-handed weapon?
I don't
think he was using it one-handed. Like for those stabs, I think he was.
Oh,
I don't remember.
I don't recall.
Either way, it's a different. Like you can't stab with the kopis, so it's like there was no point in Doug even testing that. It was more about the chopping aspect.
Yeah,
and
he,
it was brutal.
He was it looked like an old 80s shirt with some cuts in it.
Yeah,
like an old Hulk Hogan shirt.
Oh yeah. So definitely was a very sharp chopper. Yeah, Aaron did a good job. The balance felt good to Doug. It will also kill. Then we move on to the Jay Nielsen pain train. Half day Jay.
His wrist was all healed up. It's all better.
Yep, all healed
Took
up.
off the band-aids.
And he came in to beat the swords mercilessly into an oak barrel, with which would include 8 chops against this barrel. For Matt, he had a really nice sword. It had an edge afterward. There was pretty much no damage to the thing after, which the sword itself looked like it's a pretty thin blade. So that sort of test would have been like the worst one for it, I think. And it held up beautifully. And then for Aaron, he had no chips. He had a sharp edge. And Jay said he did a great job. The only issue was that his handle was a little big. And the weld. That weld broke.
That little weld broke.
That teeny little weld on his knuckle bow. And then Ben Abbott came in to do the sharpness test on the... Now they called it a sugarcane man. They called it a wicker man earlier in the episode.
Maybe
Whatever.
It was supposed to be wicker when they did the first thing, and then they're like, oh, sugarcane. Okay.
Could be. The test went about the same for both of them. They both cut through the cane pretty easily. Yep. It actually seemed like Aaron's cut a little better on that one. Like maybe it was a little sharper, or just the chopping aspect was a little better. I think because it was a curved blade. So when you chop with something like that, if you're like pulling it towards you, it can get a better slice down into it. So they both passed all the tests.
Yeah.
And it came down to the judge's decision. And wouldn't you know it, friend of the show, Matt Berry,
all right,
now is an official Forged in Fire champion. He won. Because of the large handle and the broken weld, Aaron ended up losing out. But he came quite a long way from being the first Smith to blow parameters in both rounds to becoming, the runner-up out of 7 people.
Yeah.
So nicely done, Aaron. Nicely done, everyone on both episodes. It was a fun one. Like the combination of the two, it was good. I liked it.
Yeah.
So hopefully Forged in Fire will stick with some of the new ideas and changing up the format a little bit to keep it fresh and new.
Some of the new ideas are good, except for frying pans.
No frying pans. If they did an episode where they had to forge frying pans, that'd probably be entertaining. It'd probably be entertaining.
What would the tests be?
Cooking.
They could cook an egg.
Cook eggs, smash someone on the head with it, like Home Alone style or something. Is that a Home Alone weapon?
How do you kill with it? But that would be before the kill test.
No, it would be like a blunt force trauma.
You get some live boars in the studio.
Boars?
Yeah, and then you hit him on the top of the head with the pan.
Yeah, PETA would not be happy with that.
Well, they don't have to watch.
Well, okay then. Sean has spoken.
It's a kill test.
Yeah, it's true.
Well, I guess you could swing it into a pig carcass and see if you crack some ribs.
Yeah, you might.
Mythbuster style, where they get the
put some little organs in there and see if they.
Or they can do one of their most famous tests that they did early on. Shoot it. Just shoot it. But anyway, we digress.
Yeah,
Let's
they're not
continue.
shooting anything anymore.
No, they haven't shot anything in a while.
Get back on that.
They're going to shoot something.
Yeah. Anyway, that was the episode, season 6, episode 2, Long Road to Redemption, part 2. That's a wrap.
End of the road.
And
Yeah, the road has ended.
yeah.
This one anyway.
So now I guess we'll just see
Turn around.
next week. I know one of the guys on the episode next week is a friend of Alex Ruiz.
Oh,
So that'll be interesting. I believe his name, he goes by Sims Forge. And then there's a couple other guys that we happen to follow all of them on Instagram already before any of them happened to announce they were going to be on Forge and Fire. So that's
well,
kind of
what
cool.
do you know?
So we'll be watching and we'll be taking notes and we'll be talking about that one next week. In the meantime, there was a little bit of an Instagram kerfluffle the last day or so where we somehow lost a good chunk of followers and then gained them back miraculously. So I'm not going to go into any more details than that. We still have over 1,000 followers, which is the key thing because for a second there, we dropped right below 1,000 because of this. And so we've already mentioned Zack from Forge and Feathers is going to be providing a ostrich egg for this giveaway when we go and do it. I'm going to announce we also have 2 other Smiths involved.
Oh.
JD Hungerford, Forge and Fire champion at JD Hungerford, and Drew Goodson, Forge and Fire champion.
Ah, Drew.
They are both offering to give us some stuff for this giveaway. I'm not going to say what yet. And then we also have here something that Teresa made that I meant to show in the last video and never actually had a picture of it taken. So here is the crochet knife that you can win from this giveaway once it goes live.
You can hang it.
You can hang it up. We have little loops here. We'll even put a nice dowel through there with a string so it'll be like a nice knife crochet banner that you can hang on your wall. It's pretty dope.
Yeah.
Teresa did an excellent job, and I told her people are going to want these. People are going to want to buy more of these. Yeah. And so, hint.
It's fun if I have to do it.
I know. And I've also decided I'm going to make a couple different types of hot sauce of my own recipe to include in the giveaway. I'm going to stick with the type that I've been making. If you follow our Instagram account, I usually post about it. I make fruity types of hot sauce. So blueberry, strawberry. Anyway, I'm going to make some fruity hot sauce, probably some habanero, maybe some jalapeno ones too.
All right.
So that'll be part of the giveaway. Zack also said he may toss in some other blacksmith items that he could make down at his forge. So we got a little giveaway coming together.
I wish I
here.
could make something. I have no skills.
Yep.
Well, I have skills. I just don't have hobbies. So,
That's a good time to start, Sean.
Yeah,
I guess so.
You could look into it. Maybe you can get something.
Hey, if anybody wants me to make something, tell me what you want me to try and make. That doesn't include a forge. I can't forge anything, but I'll make something very poorly. And just give me some ideas.
Or you could just draw a picture for him or something.
Dude, I can't draw.
Congratulations. It
Dude,
doesn't matter if you can't draw. We have plenty of art supplies.
The supplies don't make any difference.
So I think Charlotte has supplies too.
Oh, yeah. Charlotte could help you craft something. Maybe you can get Charlotte to
Make
donate
something
some
out
of
of
her
felt.
jewelry.
Hey,
These dudes don't want jewelry.
You don't know.
They might.
I think
rings.
I do know. I've seen her bead collection. It's not masculine.
Yet.
All righty. So that's what we got going on. This coming weekend, Sean and I are going to be going up to Massachusetts to work with Ryan Brewer, Brewer Blades, and he's going to help us continue work on our first knives.
Yeah.
So that's going to be cool. I've also officially signed up for a Dragon's Breath Forge class, kind of a tit for tat sort of thing because of the work I did for them on the hot sauce hammer off.
Indeed.
So in April, I think, is a rustic chopper class that I'm taking with Peter. So basically, it's like an intro to bladesmithing class, but you're making a big freaking chopper out of it. So that'll be fun. And yeah, all sorts of other stuff is always going on. And Follow us on Instagram and Facebook, and subscribe to the podcast if you don't already. And give us reviews if you haven't already, because I still don't see any star rating on our iTunes account, which would be nice if we could get a couple people to go on there and give us a couple 5-star reviews if you like us.
All right.
I think that's it. That's the episode.
That's great.
Thanks for watching. Remember to follow us and all that good stuff. And keep an eye out. Very soon, hopefully, we'll do the official announcement for the giveaway, explain the rules, and all that good stuff. So thank you for watching. Have a good night.
Peace out, Cub Scout.
Oh. And shout out to Knife Talk, official member of the Writing on Grinder community.
Yes, you are. Good job, man.
Thank you.
I appreciate that shirt. It beat me to it.